Hi, folks. The Filipina P here. And once again, it's time for Mailbag Friday. And this time, we're going to hear from the Filipinas. It looks like I've been picking up some female viewers lately because I'm getting a lot of emails from the ladies. And let me tell you, their situations are just as interesting as yours. We have a Filipina whose foreign boyfriend wants a harem, a woman who doesn't understand Western mating habits, and a digital detective who actually used her boyfriend's thumb to unlock his phone while he slept. And what she found has put her in a bad position. This is going to be the best mailbag ever. So let's find out what's bothering these Filipinas. To avoid confusion, I fixed the improper use of he and she as well as the verb tenses. As you might know, we use the pronoun she to apply to both sexes. So, in order to follow the story, I corrected it for you. Filipinos often tell everything in present tense too, which makes it hard to keep the timeline straight. If you've ever tried listening to a Filipina tell a story, you know what I'm talking about. So, I took care of that as well. Now, let's get into it. Our first email is from Divina in Bye Bye City, and she writes, Dear Miss P, I'm dating a man from Germany for 13 months, and we've gotten married together with a good relationship. He talks about marriage and children, and he met my family. He lives here now, and we're together like a married couple. When we were dating, he said things like it would be fun to have another woman to join us. To keep him happy, I did it once, but I didn't like it, and I told him I don't like women like that. We never did that again, but he still talked about it more. The other day, he talked about marriage, but he said something really bad. He tells me that he wants to be with me, but he wants other women to live with us. He said two housekeepers, but I said, why do we need two housekeepers? And I know he wants to sex them. He won't stop talking like this, and I'm not happy that he wants that. I know foreigners are different and they do these things, but that's not for me. I don't want to lose him. I can't lose him. But I don't want to be just one woman, so I need to ask you, what do I do? If I tell him not to do it, he might not marry me. But if I do it, I won't be happy. How do I change his mind? Well, I'm really sorry about your situation, Davina, but I'm afraid what I'm about to say is not what you want to hear. Now, you might have never heard this before, but it's a saying they have in the West. A man marries a woman hoping she'll never change, while a woman marries a man hoping she can change him. Unfortunately, it's a hope that never materializes because it's almost impossible to change a guy, especially when it comes to his sexual desires. Sure, you can convince your partner they need to change their diet or change their underwear, but when it comes to a guy's fantasies, it just doesn't work that way. Whatever turns a man on is something innate, or it develops over a long period of time. You can't just convince him that he doesn't really want what you both know he wants. And I don't know what motivates his desire, and he might not even know himself, but you're not likely to change it. Look at it this way. What if he tried to convince you that you were attracted to women? Could you just say, yeah, I can become a vegetarian? You couldn't because you're not. Trying to save your relationship by sticking your finger in a dike might plug the hole for a little while, but the dam will eventually collapse. Now, you don't go into detail about what he actually wants, but it sounds like he's got the fantasy of having several sister wives, or at least women in the household that are okay with sleeping with him, and maybe with you too. Well, that setup does exist here. It's very rare, and certainly not every Filipina's dream. Even if he's just talking about having temporary playmates, I can see where that might not be acceptable. If I were you, this is what I'd do. Sit down and spell things out. Tell him you don't want to be part of a harem, that you want to be a traditional married couple, and let the chips fall where they may. The best you could hope for is that he agrees not to act on his desires, but that has a tendency to create a long term resentment and frustration because people have a way of never giving up when it comes to what they want in the bedroom. Yes, you might lose him, but let me refer back to what you said earlier. If I do it, I won't be happy. That pretty much says it all. Best of luck, my friend, and let me know what happens. The next email is from Sabina in Antipolo. She writes, Dear Miss P, I love your videos and you understand Western men very much. I dated a foreigner, but they don't act like Pinoy. Pinoy means like Filipino guys. I wanted him to court me, but he just act like we're together already. Right away, sometimes he would get very angry, but then he would change and get very loving. He never hit me, but he would shout, and then suddenly he would say really nice things like, I love you. I can never know which one he will be, but if he would stop being angry, I would like it more. Are all foreigners like this, or is he a scary one? Okay, Sabina, time for some Foreigner 101. Let's start with the courting. Most Western guys come from a culture that used to do the courting thing, but it's pretty much disappeared there. Unlike Filipino guys, they don't write you a flowery love letter and get a friend to hand it to you. They just come right up and say whatever's on their mind. To them, we take too long on the courtship stuff, but rush into marriage talk. And to us, they skip past the courting and rush right into the dating phase. They don't want to waste time and they don't beat up around the bush, unless it's a bush worth beating around. They're very direct and they don't filter their feelings. If they're mad, you'll know it. And if they're happy, you'll know that too. Unlike Filipinos who are told to hide our feelings, they don't play games. They're very passionate, and it can sometimes seem to us like they're overly emotional, or yes, even scary. Now, that's not to say that the foreigner you're dating doesn't have anger issues. I don't know the guy, so it's impossible for me to tell. But let me ask you this. How long's he been in the Philippines? It's not uncommon for someone who just got here to get really angry at all the new frustrations. They're not used to standing in line for half an hour to buy a can of soup. And if he's attempting to drive after just getting here, well, then there you go. But after about a year or two, the Philippines has a way of beating him down, and it's like they sort of just give up when it comes to getting mad about something ridiculous they wouldn't have to deal with back home. If we're trying to be charitable, we might say they acclimate to their new surroundings, but the effect is the same. They start losing their rough edges, and their displays of emotion begin to narrow. When they first get off the plane, they hold their heads high and have a spring in their step, ready to see what future awaits. But after a while, they walk around with their shoulders slumped and their eyes fixed on the ground in front of them, so they don't step on a piece of exposed rebar or fall in a hole. You might not believe this, but I can watch a foreigner walking for about 10 seconds and tell you how long he's been here. So if your guy just arrived, cut him some slack. If you're happy enough with the way things are going, it'll probably get easier as time goes on. But if he's been here a while, what you see is what you get. And you're the only one who knows if what you got is what you want. Now, of course, you should never put up with any physical or verbal abuse, but it sounded more like he was angry at the world and not at you. If that's true, just give him a chance to settle down. Thanks for writing, and I hope Mr. Grouchy becomes Mr. Not So Grouchy. The final email of the day comes from Tabby in Manila. Tabby writes, Dear P, I have a big problem, and before I do anything about it, I wanted to see what you had to say. Me and my American boyfriend live together, and we've had a great relationship for the last 6 months. I've never suspected he was cheating on me, but lately things just don't feel the way they used to. The way he looks at me and the things he says. I asked him about it, and he said nothing's wrong. I hope that was true because I really do love him and want the future with him. But the other day, he came home with a terrible smell, and part of it smelled like another woman. He acted drunk too, but he said he only has a little beer. I know you're gonna say this was wrong for me to do, but when he passed out, I took his phone and pressed his thumb against it to unlock it and started looking at his messages. There were conversations with several women, and he was flirting with all of them, and they were flirting back. I don't know who they were or how he knew him, but he told one woman that he wanted to meet her. There was also a dating app I didn't recognize, but it needed a different password, so I couldn't get into it. I used my phone to take pictures of the conversation in case he tries to delete them, but now I don't know what to do. I'm crying as I write this. Oh, Tabby, I'm so sorry, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in your shoes. Okay, first of all, let's deal with the subject of snooping. Of course, you really shouldn't be looking on his phone without permission, but on the other hand, if you hadn't looked, you wouldn't know the truth, so maybe it's a good thing you did. I'm sure everyone watching this video is gonna have an opinion on the matter, with a lot of folks saying, "How dare you?" and other people thinking it was justified given what you found. You're not married to him yet, so there definitely needs to be a boundary when it comes to spying. But some folks will say that even wedding bells don't give you the right to do what you did. I won't have that problem because I'll gladly give whoever I marry the passwords to all my accounts, and he can spy on me all he wants. But in your case, what's done is done. So let's talk about where to go from here. Now, a lot of people will say, dump this ass, and I wouldn't blame you if that's what you did. But I like to use a more cautious approach first. It looks like he didn't actually meet anyone yet, although the intention was clearly there, so maybe there's still a way to salvage things. I have a really low tolerance when it comes to cheating, but at least hear him out. Maybe he was just bored and wanted a little excitement, even if he never really planned on going through with anything. No matter what, though, you're gonna have to confront him, or it'll eat you alive and poison the relationship anyway. Be prepared for some blowback when he finds out how you got into his phone, but don't let him use anger and guilt to make it all about what you did wrong. Take responsibility for snooping, yes, but then make sure you deal with the bigger problem. I know you feel cheated on already, even though he didn't sleep with anyone yet. The sting of betrayal is gonna last a long time, and it may never go away. But how you handle things is probably gonna depend on his reason for doing what he did, and his attitude about getting busted. Is he sorry? Does he promise never to do it again? Can you ever trust him in the future? These are the things you have to answer for yourself, and only time will tell if you made the right decision. Write me back and tell me how you handled it, okay? Well, that's it for today's episode, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll be back on Tuesday with something new. And until then, remember to wear gloves before going to bed at night. Till then, folks. Look at it this way. What if he tried to convince you that you were attracted to women? Could you just say, yeah, I can become a vegetarian? You couldn't because you're not. Oh my goodness. Darn it, what the fudge? Come on. Come on now. Get your mind out of the gutter, P. Okay. Trying to save your relationship by sticking your finger in a dike might plug the hole for a little while. But the dam, darn it, the dam will eventually collapse. I'm sure it would. Trying to save your relationship by sticking your finger in the dike. If you think about it, I'm kind of like a pirate, helping you navigate the tricky waters of Filipino culture and dating, and telling you how to find your first mate. Are you gonna listen to just anyone, or trust your Captain P to lead you to the booty? And you best be hitting that like button, subscribing to me channel, and hitting that notification bell, or I'll shiver your timbers and cut off your jib. And while we be sailing, why not feast your eyes on me other videos too? And yes, I'm a real pirate. I've got the sunken chest to prove it.